Chapter 15 of Ghost in the Street. Mello hesitated a fraction of a second before patting the mound of quilt beneath his hand, but he had decided that this was a thing he was going to do. It had all been about Matt for way too long. Mile. His voice sounded too soft and inconsequential to his own ears. He tried again with more fervour, shaking the padded width of his sleeping husband. Mile! There was a sudden frozen stillness beneath the sheets, a catch to the previously deep, steady breathing of his man. Mello stood up straight. There's a school of thought which says I shouldn't be cooking my own breakfast on my birthday. He'd expected Matt to tell him where to go, or, more likely, to ignore him till he went away. If consciousness of the date penetrated, then maybe a slow awakening might be in order, oiled into being with nicotine and tea. Studying Mello into flinching backwards, Matt merely unrolled himself from his cocoon and stood on the carpet, blinking like a man who didn't know up from down, nor precisely who or where he was. Red hair stood in tiffs more unruly than normal. He peered at Mello and then scoured the bedside cabinet for his cigarettes. He didn't even pick them up when he found them, but muttered something which might have been "Happy birthday," before pecking the most sedate kiss ever to pass between them upon Mello's lips and padding out through the open doorway to the bathroom opposite. Mello listened in amazement at the sound of his husband out of bed before noon, emptying his bladder into the toilet bowl. There was a short splash of hands being washed, and then the naked vision was back upon the landing. "Bacon, eggs, stuff," Matt hazarded vaguely, rubbing a hand about the reddened stubbles of his cheeks. "Shave." "Guapo," Mello smiled, his heart filled with surety that he loved this man to the core of his being, however gut-wrenchingly hard work that infatuation lately might have been. "I was trolling you. I can cook breakfast." "Awake," Matt's mumble assured him against all of the evidence of Mello's own eyes. The next inaudible statement ended with the word presence. He turned to drift into the direction of the stairs, goose flesh covering his skin. Mello snorted laughter. "Baby, come here." His command was sluggishly obeyed, and Mello gathered his husband tightly into a warm embrace. "You're fine. Cold, but fine." He grinned, kissing Matt's neck. "I was going to wake you just long enough to say I'm riding out to that little cafe in Berlioz. I didn't think that you'd wake up all the way. It's only just gone 9. Matt was shivering in his grasp, either with his declining temperature or all part of his normal quivering. "What are you doing? Getting back into bed where it's warm, or getting dressed and coming with me?" "See," Matt told him, without actually shifting in either direction. "See what?" Mello prompted, meeting the resultant expression of confusion with a deep kiss upon his lips. "May I suggest getting back into bed while I sort out a mug of tea, have a smoke, and we'll attempt this again in 10. He guided Matt's trembling frame towards the mattress, but the redhead ducked suddenly under his arm. "Oh?" "Come with you." He bent to pick up boxer shorts that had been dropped at some junction onto the floor and sniffed them, which reaching for his jeans alongside them on the carpet. "If you want." "There's clean underwear in the drawer," Mello told him, amused. It had been a long time since he had witnessed his husband rising. Usually Matt was caffeinated before they came into contact, or at least dressed en route to the kettle. "Shall I get you a brew?" Matt scowled. His latest comment ended in fussing, without much discernible before. And yet he did head towards the chest of drawers, extracting clean boxes with yesterday's pair fluttering in his wake back onto the carpet. Despite his apparent descent into zombiehood, Mello was impressed at how together his husband's mental faculties seemed to be. All too recently, there had been hours late into the day and far from waking when Matt had appeared more lost and befuddled. But then there'd been much worse too. And frankly, it was a shame to see clothes being pulled on over that body. "Or we could stay in bed and I'll ravish you for my birthday instead." Matt paused, with one foot hovering over the leg of his jeans. "Mind up, Mello." He yawned his way into a coughing fit. Nothing unusual there, just Matt's smoker's cough first thing in the morning. He sat on the end of the bed, reaching at last to the dressing table to expel a ball of mucus into one of Mello's eye makeup removal pads. That was thrown in the vague direction of the small metal bin beneath, where, remarkably and probably accidentally, it went in. Matt wiped his watering eyes on a knuckle and peered myopically at his spouse. "Doing?" he asked. "Getting you a cuppa and a cigarette and then taking it from there." "Dressed or not?" "Too cruel a question at the best of times," Mello winked, "especially to be asked of a man on his birthday." He strode across the bedroom door, glancing back to Matt's unsure expression to snigger in response. "When have I not wanted you naked, my Lito?" He returned several minutes later, with tea steaming from a Super Mario mug, to find Matt fully dressed and sitting on the side of the bed smoking a cigarette. His husband afforded him an apprising look from behind his goggles. Slightly more sentience exhibited there, but not much more. "Well, that's a shame," Mello commented. Matt spoke through the smoke.
Thought you wanted to go to Beryloo for breakfast.
He reached for his tea with a hand shaking so badly that Mello placed the mug on the bedside cabinet instead.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Mello sat beside him, one hand stroking alongside the inside of his husband's denim thigh. I do intend to fuck you into submission today. Take my time about it. Make it something to truly remember and sustain me through our ensuing celibacy. Matt frowned, examined the statement with his frown deepening, and then lifted his mug steadily with both hands wrapped around it and took a sip. It was still too hot. He blew on the surface and sucked in a second sip before returning to the cabinet. Only then did he twist to survey his husband, disapproval etched upon his features.
What?
Mello, while he met his look, blithely commenting, In 2 weeks, we will be meeting people who have been your idols since childhood, others who have been your sparring partners since 4chan first spewed itself onto the internet, and yet more who are your cybernaut acolytes. Beside him, Matt nodded. And then his whole body tightened and he reached for his mug of tea again. So I won't fuck this up for you by forcing you to face them battered by our lifestyle. It didn't add physically. There wasn't much they could do at this late juncture about the rest. My gift to you, Guapo.
They know I'm your sub.
Knowing and seeing it in action are two very different things. Mello informed. I would allow you to take your collar off. He snatched his hand away, leaning swiftly backwards as Matt's startled reaction splashed hot tea across his own lap. Fuck! Mello took the mug from his husband's grasp, rushing to grab the abandoned boxer shorts to mop his thighs. Are you burnt? Matt didn't seem to have noticed the probable scolding. He was staring at Mello with eyes shocked wide. What? Back! Mello pushed him backwards onto the bed, hurriedly unfastening Matt's belt and buttons, peeling back the denim from his skin. His husband's thighs were revealed with bright red patches, staining the general paleness, but not dangerously so. Matt peered up at him, not moving. But I didn't offer because you need it for far more than telling the world that you belong to me, you freaking idiot. He peeled off a glove to touch the heating flesh. Does this hurt?
You wanted to take my collar off?
Matt demanded in a breathy whisper, still not mentally beyond that point.
Really?
Mello sighed, then leaned over his prone spouse, arms supported upon fists bunched into the bedding on either side of Matt's body. Face inches away, he growled. Whatever paranoia has just come into play, please listen to what I'm actually saying and not what your fevered mind is inserting. I'm going to repeat it slowly to give you the chance to stay the pace. Whatever the circumstances, Mello had to admit that this was deeply erotic, particularly the way Matt was looking back at him, drinking in his words, not playing along, capitulating to the challenge as per their sexual politics, but hooked, lingering to hear what might come next. As a favour to you, my beloved and respected long-time lover and lifelong spouse, I was prepared to allow a single moment where you didn't have to ostentatiously proclaim yourself as my...
But I want to.
Yes, I know. Mello exhaled his exasperation. So I didn't offer because I worked out it would not be welcomed in the spirit in which it was meant. He waited. Matt blinked up at him. Are we on the same page yet? Matt slowly nodded.
Yes.
Mello smiled approval. So, did you scold yourself badly?
No.
Fine. Mello continued staring down, deciding whether to follow through on the urgent messages from his groin or to put that off until later, affording his stomach its hour instead. Beneath him, Matt's left hand snaked around Mello's arm and brought the nearly burnt-out cigarette to his mouth. Mello frowned and followed its progress back down beside the quilt. He sighed and stood. One day I'm going to force you into an IQ test within the first 10 minutes of waking. See if it really is, as I suspect, in negative numbers. Matt took the last gasp on his cigarette still lying down and then told the ceiling.
Okay. Remind me later to explain the fundamentals of mathematics to you. You'll be amazed at how wrong your assumptions can be.
Oh good, you're waking up. They remained in their current positions, regarding each other for a few long seconds before Matt asks.
Am I getting up, sir, or lying here and doing presents later?
I'm quite enjoying the one I already have partially unwrapped, Mello informed him, lying down, and gaining some valuable data about how deliciously malleable you are first thing in the morning. Practically innocent, which isn't something I thought I'd ever get to say about you, Pooter. His grin became a smirk. And you obviously wanted, or else you'd have sat back up and had the rest of your tea by now. Matt told the ceiling.
I am your collared submissive. Point 11 on our slave contract. Oh, Christ. Forbids me to do anything in our marital bed without your direction, as my master, unless my life or yours is actually in peril, unless it is as a natural consequence of sleeping.
Mello pointed towards the bathroom, still on full view through their open bedroom doorway. Oh, so you're perfectly at liberty to leave for the loo first thing in the morning, but you're quoting chapter and verse at me now. Matt inspected his cigarette butt. It was extinguished.
On December the 9th, 2011, at 9:40 p.m, it was verbally agreed by my master that I may leave this bed, even with him present in the bedroom, to answer a call of nature, as long as I return immediately to await instruction.
He smiled at the air above his face again.
Sir.
So never, in the last 2 years, have you ever left this bed with me in the room, unless at my say-so, or in order to go to the toilet? Mello was pondering the point even as he asked, astounded that his memory could find no counterpoint to refute Matt's obvious trolling. I call bullshit. And then Matt raised his head from the mattress to peer back at him, and Mello knew without a shadow of a doubt that Matt never had. Which is why you got out of bed as soon as I woke you this morning. Mello tried to recall what had happened this time last year, December the 13th, traditionally, by a very short providence, the only morning when Matt rose before him. He came back from a run to find Matt out of bed and cooking breakfast at 8 a.m, pretty similar to this year yet, then, minus the red-headed Romano movie reject in charge of an oven. You'd really remain in that bed indefinitely, as long as I stayed in the room? His husband scowled.
Why, are we tearing the slave contract up as well as removing my collar?
And Mello really couldn't tell anymore whether this was trolling or Matt in the grip of a real paranoia. His gaze gave nothing away. He generally looked dazed these days and shook even when he was feeling relatively good.
Mel?
Mello grinned, assuming the troll with enough margin of doubt to be prepared to redeem the situation if necessary. Do you know how hot you look right now? His gaze left his spouse's shielded eyes to travel downwards, lingering upon the exposed boxers and the freckled thighs beneath.
Thank you, sir. You're pretty fucking hot yourself most of the time.
Your tea's growing cold, Mello informed him. Matt set up to retrieve it, dropping his dead cigarette butt onto the ashtray there, watching his husband over the lip of the mug, sipping and blowing upon the tea before taking a sizable gulp. Mello watched, gaping with indignant triumph. Oh, so you can move and there's a morning cuppa involved. Matt lifted his mouth to the liquid to express his defence.
It was implied I could, and besides, I haven't left the bed.
Not a flicker of a smirk, all spoken downright blandly with eyes dull with withdrawal, sleeplessness and angst, not twinkling as Mello thought they should be. He was beginning to doubt the evidence of his own experience. The balance of probability edged back towards paranoia, while Matt carefully finished his tea, glanced at him and then shook out and lit his second cigarette of the day.
Is Sir still trying to decide what he wants to do?
Mello shook back his hair and fixed his stare upon his husband again. Sir is tempted to put this to the test. Stay right here and see how long it takes you before you crack. You're a smart-ass, trolling bastard, and I know that you're not as serious as you look right now. Beneath his gaze, Matt's features remained perfectly level. Mello couldn't believe he was personally having to intellectualise this to himself. He knew Matt like he knew himself. It should be obvious whether his husband was joking or in distress. He didn't have the emotional capacity right now to strike out to any middle ground. If he was seriously challenging out of sheer paranoia, then there would be tears by now. If not, then it was taking willpower worthy of the old days before his possession, and 2 years of attempted Schrocksack withdrawal had destroyed his equilibrium. He was seeing his husband back, after months of the wilderness of his own shaken self-confidence. You're waiting, Mello carefully testing out his words, even as he articulated them. For me to admit that I don't know for sure whether you're trolling or serious. You want me to confess you have me stumped. He waited, watching, dreading the sudden subsiding into panic attack if he was wrong. And then Matt's mouth split into a maddening smirk. Mello wanted to slap him as much as kiss him, this mirage of the Matt that was pasted upon the features of the Matt he had beside him now.
So?
The redhead quietly articulated.
Does Sir want to ravish me on the bed, or allow me up to retrieve his presents and take him for breakfast in Beryloo?
Mello gasped. Oh, you're a twat, you know that.
I'm aware, as you've informed me this on many occasions. Nevertheless, item 11 on air...
Oh, get the fuck up! Mello watched him rise, perturbed that he still wasn't 100% sure he'd read the situation correctly. He reached out a finger and ran it under his husband's jawline, guiding the mouth towards him to be met with a ferocious kiss claiming possession, whatever the joke, drawn away to lock contact with that seductive emerald stare. How far from the bed do you have to be before you can no longer use it as an excuse for straight talking? Matt blew out his cheeks.
An excuse for straight talking?
He asked, emphasising the "for." Mello blushed.
I think Sir is getting awfully confused, but these things happen as one gets older. I believe the call is a senior moment.
I'm seriously going to twat you in a minute.
So sex is back on? Matt queried. Only Master can be a terrible cocktease. A half-smile flickered across his lips. Very hard to read at times. Mello breathed out a laugh. Oh, welcome back, bitch. Miss you more than you would believe. Now tell me you were trolling so we can get on with celebrating my birthday in whatever way I see fit. Matt inspected him cautiously, reaching down to pull his jeans back up to his waist and fasten them close. He chuckled, shook out his head and then snatched up his cigarettes, removing the packet to his pocket and then extracting the current one from between his lips. You only considered 2 explanations, Mello. That's where you were going wrong. Much more complicated than that.
Oh, fuck off. There are neighbours more complex than you, Mello retorted, instantly regretting the comment as too derogatory for the circumstances. OK, I take that back, but you're hardly a labyrinthine maze of requirements. Your outlook is usually rather simple, straightforward, should we say. Simple makes it sound like I'm calling you stupid. Cars, games, computers, hot sessions of sadomasochistic sex will usually keep you very well contented, especially when sustained by cigarettes, steak pie and or pepperoni pizza with plentiful cups of tea. Do you share your complications beyond that, Maya?
Well, I'm quite addicted to Matt grinned as Mello's gaze froze. To Slavs, blonde ones in leather. Or was that covered in the sadomasochistic sex?
He waited while Mello tutted in patience at the stalling.
Your assumption was that I was either trolling you or going insane.
No, Mello frowned. That you were panicking, getting anxious about what I said concerning your collar, and extending that to the save contract, which you suddenly decided to follow to the letter. That's not the same as going insane, and you can't deny the panic attacks or the extreme anxiety. I was trying to have your back here, baby, but how can I if you're messing with the data? Matt nodded slowly and took the cigarette from his mouth.
How about we stop assuming that I'm only your sub when I'm insecure, or when you're ready to stop farting around and be my master?
He surveyed Mello carefully from behind his goggles.
I never once deviated from the straight talking, though I was amused by how much that confused your evaluation. Sorry, it was a strange protocol situation.
Matt shrugged.
I should have guided your responses better.
Mello sucked in a breath, watching his husband saunter out towards the door. He was half inclined to call him back and fuck him senseless anyhow, but Matt seemed intent upon drifting away downstairs, and Mello was suddenly unsure how he should be playing this, so not to lose face. Impulsively, he darted across to his side of the bed and opened the drawer of his cabinet, skimming down to reread number 11. "Oh, bastard! Fucking!" he hissed, and then screamed at the top of his voice, "Jeevas!" Down below there came the answering laughter of a master troll who knew he'd played it until the very end. "Can't refuse sex," was all the line truly stated, which Mello knew he should have reread long before now to ensure that he'd memorised precisely what was written. And yet he found he really didn't care. His husband's mind had held steady throughout the pretence, and that was the birthday present that Mello craved above all else.